In the heart of a forgotten village, nestled among the rolling hills and dense forests, stood the ruins of an ancient church. Its crumbling stone walls and shattered stained glass windows bore witness to a tragic tale that had long been buried in the annals of history. The church, once a symbol of love and devotion, now stood as a grim reminder of a love that had been cruelly betrayed. Eliza Blackthorne, a young woman of extraordinary beauty and grace, had been the envy of all who knew her. With hair as dark as a raven's wing and eyes that sparkled like emeralds, she had captured the heart of the village's most eligible bachelor, Victor Blackthorne. Their love had been a thing of legend, a story whispered by the townspeople as they gathered around the flickering fires in their modest homes. On the day of their wedding, the church had been adorned with the most exquisite flowers and the finest silks. Eliza, resplendent in her ivory gown and delicate lace veil, had walked down the aisle on her father's arm, her heart full of joy and anticipation. Victor, handsome and proud, had stood at the altar, his eyes brimming with love and devotion. But as the ceremony began, a terrible truth was revealed. Victor, it seemed, had been hiding a dark secret. He had been engaged in a sordid affair with Eliza's own sister, Lenore. The shock and horror that rippled through the congregation were palpable as Lenore burst through the church doors, her face twisted with malice and triumph. Eliza, her heart shattered and her dreams of a happy future with Victor destroyed, had fled from the church in anguish. Her agonized cries echoed through the village as she ran, her once pristine wedding gown now stained with the bitter tears of betrayal. The townspeople watched in stunned silence as the once joyous occasion descended into a nightmare of pain and sorrow. In the days that followed, Eliza was nowhere to be found. The village searched high and low for the missing bride, but it was as if she had vanished into thin air. Rumours began to circulate that she had taken her own life, driven mad with grief and despair. Others whispered that she had fled to a distant land, seeking to escape the pain of her shattered dreams. But the truth was far more sinister. Eliza, consumed by rage and a thirst for vengeance, had retreated to the depths of the church, where she had once been so cruelly betrayed. There, in the shadows of the crumbling sanctuary, she had made a dark pact with the forces of evil, trading her soul for the power to exact her revenge upon those who had wronged her. As the years passed, the church fell into disrepair, its once grand facade now a mere shell of its former glory. The villagers, haunted by the memories of that fateful day, began to avoid the place, whispering that it was cursed. Strange noises could be heard emanating from within the church walls, and eerie lights could be seen flickering in the windows late at night. Those brave enough to venture near the church spoke of a ghostly figure, clad in a tattered wedding gown, that wandered the grounds. Her face, they said, was a twisted mask of hatred and despair, her eyes burning with an unholy fire. The figure, it was whispered, was the spirit of Eliza Blackthorne, forever trapped within the walls of the church where she had been so cruelly betrayed. As the legend of the forsaken bride grew, the village became a place of fear and superstition. Mothers warned their children to stay away from the church, lest they fall victim to Eliza's vengeful spirit. Young lovers, once eager to pledge their hearts to one another, now shunned the idea of marriage, terrified of suffering the same fate as the ill-fated bride. A century passed, and the village had all but forgotten the tragic tale of Eliza Blackthorne. The church, now little more than a crumbling ruin, had become a mere footnote in the town's history. But on the 100th anniversary of that fateful wedding day, strange things began to happen once more. It began with the arrival of a young couple, eager to be wed in the picturesque ruins of the old church. Despite the warnings of the village elders who spoke of the curse that lingered over the place, the couple insisted on holding their ceremony within the ancient stone walls. As the bride, a lovely young woman named Amelia, walked down the aisle, a chill wind began to blow through the church, extinguishing the candles and plunging the sanctuary into darkness. In the midst of the confusion, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Eliza, the forsaken bride, her ghostly form still clad in her tattered wedding gown. Her eyes, once filled with sorrow and despair, now blazed with a vengeful fury. With a scream of rage, she descended upon the terrified couple, her spectral hands reaching out to grasp the bride's throat. Chaos erupted as the wedding guests fled in terror, their screams echoing through the ancient church. Amelia, trapped in the ghostly bride's grasp, struggled desperately to break free, but Eliza's grip was relentless. The groom, a brave young man named Jasper, fought valiantly to save his beloved, but he was no match for the supernatural strength of the vengeful spirit. As the life drained from Amelia's body, Eliza's ghostly form began to change. Her once beautiful features twisted into a monstrous visage, her wedding gown transforming into a shroud of darkness. With a final piercing scream, she vanished, taking the souls of the unfortunate couple with her into the depths of the church's unhallowed ground. News of the tragic events at the church spread like wildfire through the village. The town elders, realizing that the curse of Eliza Blackthorne had once again been awakened, knew that they had to act fast to prevent further bloodshed. They called upon the services of a renowned spiritualist, a man named Dr. Alistair Grimshaw, to help them lay the vengeful spirit to rest. Dr. Grimshaw, a tall, gaunt man with piercing grey eyes, arrived in the village on a gloomy autumn evening. He listened intently as the elders recounted the tale of Eliza Blackthorne and the curse that had plagued the church for over a century. With a grim determination, he set about his work, delving deep into the mysteries of the occult in search of a way to banish the malevolent spirit. As the nights grew longer and the shadows deepened, Dr. Grimshaw spent hours within the crumbling walls of the church, poring over ancient tomes and performing arcane rituals. The villagers watched from a distance, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty, as strange lights and eerie sounds emanated from the ruined sanctuary. Finally, on the night of the autumn equinox, Dr. Grimshaw emerged from the church, his face pale and drawn. In his hands, he held a small, ornate box, its surface inscribed with intricate sigils and symbols. He called the villagers to gather round, his voice trembling with exhaustion and fear. "I have done what I can," he said, his eyes haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. "The spirit of Eliza Blackthorne is contained within this box, but it is only a temporary measure. The curse that binds her to this place is too strong to be broken by mortal means. We must bury this box deep within the earth and pray that it is never found. For if it is opened, the vengeful bride will be unleashed once more, and all who stand in her path will suffer her eternal wrath." The box containing the vengeful spirit of Eliza Blackthorne was buried deep beneath the earth, in a secret location known only to Dr. Grimshaw and the village elders. Years turned to decades, and the tragic tale of the forsaken bride faded into legend once more. The church, now little more than a pile of overgrown rubble, was all but forgotten, its dark history lost to the mists of time. But the curse of Eliza Blackthorne could not be so easily contained. As the world around the village changed and grew, the power of the vengeful spirit only seemed to strengthen. Whispers began to circulate of strange occurrences near the ruins of the old church. Ghostly figures seen wandering the grounds, eerie lights flickering in the darkness, and the sound of a woman's mournful sobbing carried on the wind. Those who dared to venture too close to the church spoke of a terrible presence that seemed to lurk within the shadows, waiting to ensnare the souls of the unwary. Some even claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of Eliza Blackthorne herself, her once beautiful face twisted into a mask of hatred and rage, her spectral hands reaching out to drag the living down into the depths of her eternal torment. As the years passed, the village became a place of fear and superstition once more. The legend of the forsaken bride, once thought to be little more than a ghost story, had taken on a life of its own. Mothers warned their children to stay away from the ruins of the old church, lest they fall victim to Eliza's vengeful curse. Young lovers, tempted by the romance of the tragic tale, were warned of the terrible fate that awaited those who dared to love too deeply. And so the curse of Eliza Blackthorne lived on, a dark and twisted legacy that would endure for generations to come. The church, once a symbol of love and devotion, had become a monument to the destructive power of betrayal and the unrelenting force of vengeance. And the forsaken bride, forever trapped within the walls of her unhallowed tomb, waited in the shadows, ready to claim the souls of any who dared to cross her path.